afternoon. Chairman Talberg will be participating in this commission meeting telephonically. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Good afternoon. I call this meeting of the Michigan Public Service Commission to order on February 21st at 1:30 p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Talberg.
Present.
Commissioner Sari.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. First up, we have approval of the agenda, and I'll move adoption of the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The agenda is approved. Next, I'll move adoption of the minutes of the regular commission meeting of February 7th, 2017.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The meeting minutes are approved. Item number 3 is approval of orders on the consent agenda, and today the commission is assisted by Attorney Barb Kunkel and staff.
Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 8 communication matters and 1 electric matter that are listed on item 3 of today's agenda. The proposed order for each of these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staffs and are ready for your approval.
I move adoption of all orders on the consent agenda.
I second approval of all orders listed on today's consent agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The orders are approved.
Item 4A1 is case number U-17497, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion to propose amended forms for filing complaints for use under the Public Act 174 of 2013, known as the Miss Dig Act. Staff member Jeff Corante is here to describe this order.
Good afternoon, Jeff.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioner. In November 2013, Public Act 174, known as the Miss Dig Underground Facility Damage Prevention Safety Act, was signed into law. It requires that a notice be provided to Miss Dig of an intent to excavate, tunnel, discharge explosives, or demolish at least 3 days in advance of the work being performed so that underground utilities can be clearly marked. Act 174 also required the Commission to adopt provisions for reporting and tracking damages of underground facilities and to make the data available on its website. Based on the information received from facility owners, excavation work is a leading cause of damage to underground facilities. Additionally, the Act required the Commission to develop forms and rules for processing complaints. Adopted in April 2014, these forms and procedures are posted on the Commission's website. Since the creation of these forms, Commission staff has received a total of 131 complaints. Based on staff's review of the forms and comparing the requested inputs to the responses collected through the damage complaint process, staff finds it appropriate to propose updates to streamline the process and to simplify the forms. The proposed changes were to remove certain fields that were duplicative, inaccurate at times, and information that was not always relevant to certain complaints. If the staff were to determine that some of this missing information is needed, it can be obtained through the investigative process. If today's order is adopted, the Commission invites all interested parties to submit written or electronic suggestions and comments regarding the proposed amended forms, which will be attached to this order. The deadline for comments is 5 p.m. March 5 and should reference case number U-17497. Proposed revisions to the forms will be posted on this docket by March 12, and comments will once again be accepted with a deadline of 5 p.m. March 22. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grante. Appreciate your commitment to continuous improvement in the damage prevention program and the work to try and update these forms to make them easier to use and ensure that we're getting the reporting that's so important. With that, I'll move adoption of the order in case U-17497.
I second approval.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The order is approved.
Item number 4A2 is case number U-18091, which involves applications for the leave to appeal filed by Cypress Creek Renewables LLC, Geronimo Energy, and S Power Development Company LLC. The order before you grants the applications for leave to appeal and grants the requested relief.
I move adoption of the order in case number 18091.
Second approval.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The order is approved.
Item 4A3 is case number U-18352, which involves a revised application filed by DTE Electric Company requesting approval of its voluntary green pricing program pursuant to Section 61 of 2016 PA 342. Staff member Katie Traxel is here to describe this order.
Public Act 342 of 2016, among other things, added Section 61, requiring electric providers to offer voluntary green pricing, or VGP, programs to their customers. On October 5th, 2018, the Commission rejected DTE Electric Company's proposed Section 61 program, My Green Power. The Commission explained that there was inadequate information on the record to dispel the Commission's concerns regarding the program's cost. The Commission also raised other areas of concern in need of redress, including the program enrollment cap set at 150,000 megawatt hours, the lack of VGP options, and lack of plans to expand the program proposed by the company, and the need for forecasting and market studies to gain a better understanding of customer needs and preferences for VGP programs. DTE Electric was directed to file a revised My Green Power program or an application for a VGP program to replace My Green Power, in this case within 120 days. DTE Electric complied with the Commission's October 5th order, first by filing an application for approval of a large customer VGP program in case number U-20343, which was approved as a pilot program by the Commission in January. And second, by filing earlier this month an application for approval of a revised My Green Power program. Within its application, DTE Electric stated that it had made several changes that address the Commission's concerns. Those changes include, number 1, offering a wind-only option in addition to the blended solar and wind option originally proposed in My Green Power. Number 2, eliminating the 150,000 megawatt hour enrollment cap. 3, eliminating the early termination fee. 4, providing a simplified explanation of the subscription fee and credit calculation on the My Green Power webpage. Number 5, conducting a 3-year forecast, and when the forecast indicates when the program will be at least 75% subscribed or fully subscribed, the company will implement plans to add resources to the program. And number 6, provide revenue and cost data in its semi-annual report. The order before you finds the revised My Green Power program adequately addresses the Commission's concerns and approves the program as Section 61 compliant.
Ms. Traxel, thank you for that excellent explanation.
Yeah, thank you. I just appreciate your diligence and thought leadership on all of these programs that are being put in place pursuant to the 2016 laws. And I know there was an exciting announcement today with Ford Motor Company signing up under DTE's large customer program just approved by the Commission last month. So with that, I'll move adoption of the order in case number U-18352.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The order is approved. Thank you, Katie.
Item 4A4 is a minute action in case number U-20134, which confirms the Commission's approval of Consumers Energy Company holding an initial stakeholder meeting regarding the Power My Drive pilot program at the Commission's offices in May of 2019.
I'll move adoption of the minute action.
I'll second it, and before we go to the vote, I would like to make a short comment regarding this minute action. And you've heard me before talk about EVs, and I tell you, my interest is now really extensive because we're actually going to get to a program. We've had technical discussions, and we've had workshops, and we've had orders that we've looked at, and we've had a rate case that's been decided that all addressed EVs. Now we're getting to the, I guess the time that I would have to say the rubber meets the road. I can't say that we're going to start gassing it up because we're going to be electrifying it up. But the most important point here is that there is a very sound program that Consumers Energy has been approved for, to implement in a pilot status. We're going to bring the partners and the parties to the case back together to give them kind of a final understanding of the expectations, both from the utilities implementation and actually for those customers and those stakeholders who are going to be further engaged with EV. So I'm thrilled to see the progress being made and look forward to continued action on behalf of the utilities and commission staff to make sure this is rolled out properly. Thank you.
Thank you. This is excellent. I appreciate the work of our staff, all the different stakeholders, and particularly Commissioner Sari's leadership on this subject matter. And with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The order is approved.
Item 4B1 is case number U-18010, which involves an application by Consumers Energy Company requesting approval of amendments to firm and interruptible gas transportation contracts between the company and Midland Cogeneration Venture Limited Partnership. The order before you grants Consumers Energy Company's petition for rehearing for clarification purposes, withdraws the company's October 22nd, 2018 notice of withdrawal application for its conditional acceptance, and schedules a pre-hearing conference for the establishment of an appropriate schedule for the remainder of the proceedings in this case.
Move adoption of the order in case number U-18010.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The order is approved. Next, we've reached the time for public comment, item number 5 on the agenda. And at this time, just given my participation by phone, I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Sari to facilitate that. And I understand we have several cards from members of the public.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In by law and by right, the Commission always reserves this point in time for members of the public to address the Commission on issues that are important to them and likewise are important to us. The ground rules are pretty simple. We ask that you come forward and sit next to council here when called, and we ask that you keep your comments to hopefully less than 5 minutes. And the executive secretary will kind of be giving you a friendly when you're getting close to the 5-minute. So if you could kind of wrap up within 5 minutes, we'd appreciate that. That means that we will have adequate time for everyone's comments. So, and when we say this is a public comment, we will not react or respond to any questions you might have. All of these issues are a matter of public hearing and public record, so we welcome your input, but this is not a discussion or a debate that you'll be entering. So we have a series of cards. Chris Holbeck, I'm sorry if I didn't get your name exactly, but hopefully that's close. And Chris, I see you recognized it. So please come forward and sit next to council. The other friendly reminder is that the commission meetings are all public record and in fact are being videoed, so somewhere back home, if they are watching the commission proceedings, unfortunately it's the back of the head that they see, but nevertheless, you're on camera and your comments will be publicly reported. Thank you, Chris.
Still a little hair back there, it's okay.
It's all good. Looks good. I like the coloration too. So.
Chris Holzbeck. I live at 68120 Omo Road in Lennox Township. I have a couple concerns over safety. I'm about a half mile away from the recent Consumers Power. We call it an explosion. They call it a controlled burn off. I had employees working at my house, which I've lived there for approximately 2 years now. And when the explosion happened, it pretty well shook our house, the pictures in the house, the barn, to the point where the people that were inside thought that something actually hit the house. Um, that was pretty good timing as far as another, I believe it's a private company called Blue Water Storage, is proposing to build a new compressor facility directly across the street from my house, which is similar to the Consumer's Power, maybe not as large, I'm not sure. It's changed a few times in some meetings. And that facility would be, I think, within 500 to 700 feet of our property, and within 700 feet of where my daughter would like to build a house in the front of our land. We moved out to Armada because of the safety aspect of everything. We're in the middle of nowhere, didn't think we had to contend with neighbors, industrial, commercial, or pretty much anything. A lot of my concern is there's 4 or 5 of these facilities in the Macomb-St. Clair County area, and my understanding from after I moved out there, all of the facilities have had a pretty major explosion or an accident of some kind. Some of them have caused hearing damage to civilians. Some of them have went as far as to kill cows in neighboring farms. I think it's fortunate that nobody's been killed in one of these accidents. I don't think any of the facilities are as close to a resident as my house is going to be to the new Blue Water storage place. If I pulled out my driveway, it would be directly across the street, and it abuts 2 residential lots within 100 feet of the proposed facility. So I'm here to voice my concern about, can these buildings and compressor stations be built in a non-residential area, further away from immediate dangers of little kids playing in the field next to them in the front yards? Why are they allowed to be built right on residentially zoned land? I'm a developer myself, so I understand development. I'm pro-development, although there are areas that these would be better placed. We've looked at the lines that Blue Water has, and to the north of us and to the south of us, there are areas with 17, 20, 40 acres that these facilities could be built without being within a few hundred feet of residences. The parcels Blue Water has bought, which is a half mile away from where the Consumer's explosion is, are 2 to 5 acre parcels in general. So it is a very heavily residentially built area. It's not like they're sparse houses. Some of the houses probably sit 200 to 300 feet away from each other. So we're here to ask that you reach out to our public servants or whoever you have the ability to, for the safety of our kids, people driving down the road. I don't see how an accident like this, if you're standing within a few hundred yards, isn't going to be detrimental to somebody's safety and health. So I appreciate your time and listening.
Thank you. We appreciate your time and your comments. Thank you, Mr. Holzbeck. I have a card from Mark Slanik. Hopefully we're close on that one too. Okay. Welcome, Mr. Slanik.
I'm a neighbor at Chris Holzbeck's. I've lived on Olmo Road for approximately 48 years. Dealt with Consumers Power on a lot of different issues. Um, this thing with Blue Water is kind of different than I've ever experienced before with Consumers. Consumers has always been very open to what they do. I mean, they'll set up meetings for people. I went to a meeting with Blue Water about a month and a half ago. They've got an attitude where they're going to build it, and if you don't like it, it's too bad. Which I also am a developer, and I never knew FERC had this much power that they could move into a residential area and just do whatever they want. And it's just amazing to me because of the danger of this. North of us, in Columbus Township, they built compressor station in '05, in 2011, it blew up. They built one about 6 miles south of the proposed site in 2008 or 9. In 2014, it blew up. I'm telling you, it blew up. Did not, like a bomb hit it. Next question I have is, they have a facility 2 miles, 2.5 miles south of where they propose to build this. I don't understand why they don't put all their stuff in one spot. Why they need this particular location. And when we were at the meeting that they invited everybody to, they said it was more cost effective to be there. It would cost them more if they moved further south. As a resident and safety and everything else, I don't care what it costs them. It is what it is. I understand the need for natural gas. It's in demand. And the last explosion from Consumers Power, I was home that day. It was unbelievable. The windows in my house, I thought they were going to blow out. If it wasn't for the line of trees between me and Consumers, I think they would have. But I can't imagine building this kind of a facility in the location they want it in, when they can go south to where they already have existing plant and just add on to that or do what they got to do, or buy some land where there are 30, 40 acres where there's no people. Why do you want to build in a neighborhood? And my main issue is safety. And that's about all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Slanik. I appreciate your comments. It's nice of you to come here and share with you your thoughts. You people are local residents, and it's important that we hear what local residents have to say on these projects. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Next, Chris Holzbeck II is our next speaker.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
My name is Chris Holzbeck. I have met my father a second ago. I bought the property directly north of him. I have plans on building a home and raising a family out there. When I bought the property, I looked at several other parcels. One was a little south. They planned on paving the road in the future, which I did not want to raise my family on a paved road. So I bought a property on a dirt road. The building they're planning on building is going to be about 600 to 700 feet off of my property across the road. I don't know what protects my children from riding a bike on the road if the tower that they're building, the facility explodes. If my kids were riding a bike next to Consumers, there would have probably been death, several other problems in the future. And right now, there's nothing in place to protect the residents and the children that, are going to be fooling around in the area. There's not full-time security out there. There's not a manned guard. It's just a facility that pumps a very dangerous product, and there's nothing to help the people that live around it. So, as you see, there's several of us that have strong concerns about this facility, and there's a lot of other places that would be better fit, bigger pieces of property, one that doesn't surround by residents. There's a golf course just south with a large piece of property that the owner has stated that he would sell, and it is on the gas line. Those are my concerns.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Holzbeck. Next speaker, Robert Grues. Welcome.
Did good with that. Not many people do. Last name.
With my name,
My name is Bob
pronounce it.
Grues. Again, I've lived in this community for a number of years. I farm approximately 1,000 acres. Most of that acreage is around this site. My son lives less than a quarter mile down the road on one of those pieces of property. I'm also the owner of the piece that I proposed to them to move down towards the golf course and get away from our residential area, our congested residential area. Mine is concerned. Surely I have a vested interest in the 100 acres I owe directly across the street, in which we have 20 lots that we want to subdivide and make them a rural lot. And what that is going to do to those property values when you have a compressor station in view. And surely with the safety record that Blue Water has had in their last couple, the lots surely are going to take a hit in dollar value if indeed somebody wants to live there at all. And I think you have to go back to the safety, because who would want to come and build a $500,000 home with a compressor station that has had a safety record of Blue Water over the last few years? You have to go to safety. Everything's about safety. I am surprised that and bewildered in how they can propose a station just based on convenience and size of compressors, right, or number of compressors needed to pump up the pressure in the lines that they need. And this is all, they basically say they need to be closer to this beginning of the main in order to not have two compressor stations. Here, for convenience sake, cost sakes, they get to come into a residential neighborhood and turn it upside down. There surely is a lot of other people on this road that won't be here. Probably 10 to 12 that I know of, just in very close proximity to this. Some of the houses just got built here last year that are going to be even within a little bit closer to what Chris had to say. So surely we feel it should go somewhere else and not in this residential community. That's all my comments.
Good. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Cruz. Next, we have Frank Viviano. Mr. Viviano?
Hello, Mr. Commissioner. Appreciate you hearing us out today. My name, as you said, is Frank Viviano. I work for Mr. Holzbeck. He asked me to help organize the effort that he and his neighbors are taking to ensure the safety of their community where they've chosen to live. Just to kind of sum up how we got here today, back in December, a company called Blue Water Gas Storage LLC had a public meeting at the Ray Township offices, and for the first time informed the neighbors that a compressor station was going to be located in their midst. Since then, a number of the neighbors, myself, Mr. Holzbeck, we've been reaching out to local officials, trying to find out what our rights are, what our possible solutions could be to address the safety concerns that they have. I've spoken to state senators, state representatives, our congressmen, some county officials, and some local officials, and it seems like a lot of them don't know where to turn. We've spoken to local officials who told us to talk to the state. We've talked to state officials who've asked us to address our concerns with FERC. We've sent emails and letters to FERC with no response. The reality is that the residents themselves are not in the best position to negotiate with FERC. So we're here today to ask for your intervention. Like the gentleman before me all said, we did the research. We looked at all the lots available. Mr. Cruz even offered them an available lot that is on the pipeline. I looked a mile in either direction of this proposed site along the same pipeline, and there are a number of more viable spots. They chose literally the most densely populated spot they could have in this area. There are approximately, by my estimation, 30 homes within a half mile of this spot. And that's a lot, considering we're talking about Ray Township and Lennox Township, which are largely agricultural. But this one spot happens to be where a lot of people have located their homes. And if I could remind you of something that you actually said last week, I'm going to quote you back to yourself. We will emphasize there is no acceptable compromise for safety programs, no allowable shortcuts, quick fixes, or cutting corners in the design, construction, and operation of natural gas systems. I would add to that, and maybe it's implicit in that, that the location of these facilities should be greatly considered. The product itself, natural gas, is inherently dangerous. It is combustible. Even with the best of intentions and a neighbor that is responsible as consumers is, and no one would argue that they're not, they still had a major failure in their systems. It happens. Parts wear out, they corrode, materials can fail, there's human error involved, and when you're talking about these facilities, which to the outside observer look like giant bombs waiting to happen, it's very concerning. It's very stressful for them. So what we would like specifically for the commission to do, as of now, the application that Blue Water Gas Storage LLC is intending to file has not yet been sent to FERC. They have told us that they're going to send it in mid-April. But we believe that the commission proactively should be asking FERC to re-examine its standards and policies for all of these facilities, and that the closer they are to homes, the more scrutiny they should receive. Alternative locations should always be sought out whenever possible that are safer, more distant from homes, more distant from residences. And the safety measures that are in place, that are built into the facility, should be re-examined. And again, the closer they are to homes, the more safety measures that should be put in place. Simply put, a one-size-fits-all construction plan shouldn't be allowed. Once the application is filed, we would again ask you to intervene with FERC on behalf of the residents. Ask FERC to scrutinize this application. Blue Water Gas Storage LLC has a poor safety record. They have had 2 major failures in this same community in the last 10 years. We would ask them to review the location, the alternatives that are available to that location, the construction of the plant, of the compressor station itself, and the safety measures that are proposed, and the safety measures that should be proposed considering its proximity to homes. And lastly, we would ask this commission to increase the inspections on Blue Water Gas Storage's existing facilities, considering their poor safety record, and perhaps reconsider its policies in general on safety inspections, which I believe probably is part of Governor Whitmer's request and their investigations that are ongoing. And that's all I have. I appreciate your time.
Mr. Viviano, thank you for your comments, and I can assure you, you did quote me accurately, and it isn't just my feeling, but it's the feeling shared by our staff also, that there's no shortcut and there's no easy corner around on safety programs. So thank you for reminding us of the commitment that we have to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment during this public comment session? If not, Madam Chair, turn the meeting back over to you.
All right, thank you. With that, I will just want to acknowledge our staff and others for their patience and accommodations today. It's a provision in our bylaws, the Public Service Commission's bylaws, to allow for commissioners to participate telephonically. It's rarely used. I've been on the commission 5.5 years, and just due to illness was unable to attend and the need to proceed with this meeting. So I will listen to the, or watch the public comment session that's video recorded, just so we have that. And if there are written materials that you have, that would also be helpful for our records. And if you want to follow up with staff there in the room. And with that, I'll ask for, make a motion to adjourn the meeting today.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The meeting is adjourned.